Hello, what's up everybody? How's it going? Welcome to another video of tutorial series Learning Laravel from Scratch. I'm your host Anwar Ali. I'm here today with a new topic, and the topic is using resource controller in order to edit and delete entries from the database. Okay, in the last video we covered how to add a new entry to a database, and in order to do that we created a categories controller inside the admin folder, and we modify the routes accordingly. So we added a suffix called admin for the admin folder, and the categories controller inside the admin folder we modify the routes a little bit. So this was the modification in the resource route that we made last time, and today we'll continue and work for editing and deleting entries from the database. So let's begin with the index blade that we were working last time. So here I need to add a route for edit, and if you go to the resource controller documentation, in order to edit an entry we need to add the route name as photo.edit. But if you see, in order to add the route name called photos.edit, we also need to pass a parameter here. This is a parameter that we need to pass. So route has a simple rule: wherever we place something like this is representing something like ID or maybe a slug or any parameter that we are about to pass to the entry. So in this case what happens is this is representing an ID, and in order to pass an ID to a URL or to a route, there is a specific way to do that, and we will be also covering that specific way today. So first of all, let us just give a route name simply by adding two curly brackets and route, and the name of route is, since we have a suffix called admin, we'll type in admin.categories.edit. At the same time we also need to pass a parameter as represented by this. So this is representing a parameter that is to be displayed in the route. So the parameter is to be passed this way. So we just type in a comma and give the parameter followed by the route name. So our parameter would be $C ID, this way. So let's see if it works. Okay, yes, it is working. Now let's just try to edit, hover over the links. So we can see on the bottom there is categories/1/edit, categories/2/edit, categories/3/edit, right? So it is working perfectly fine. So this is the way how we pass the arguments or parameter or the URI segment that the URL is expecting. So in this case the URL is expecting something in the middle of photos and edit, and that is for our case currently it is an ID. So we are passing an ID to the route name by just a comma and followed by something that we are about to pass. In this case it's ID. So we pass the ID to the route. So now once we click on edit it will take us to categories/1/edit as displayed over here. So photos/1/edit. Okay, so this is the first thing that we covered. We gave the link to the edit button in each loop. Now we need to work out on edit page. Okay, so what I want you to do here is I want you to replace this ID by $category, just like we did it in store. So here the difference here is, in store the category, this category was representing an empty object of a model category in order to save that model to the database, to save the values to the database. But in this case, since ID is being sent through the URL, in this case this category will represent a specific entry from the database whose ID is the ID that is being sent through the URL. So here if you just go and type in echo $category ID, you will see that it will return the ID that is being sent through the URL, in this case 1. Similarly, if you say category/arrow title, you will find that This time this will print out the title of the ID1, which is sports. So you can see that how easily we can get the entry that we are about to and the entry of the ID that we passed from the URL. So in case of other frameworks or in case of core page, we would have to write a query, select all from categories where ID equals to the past ID. But in this case, just replacing the ID by our resource or an object of category, we just fetch the entire entry of the database or of the table in the database by just creating a small object as in a parameter. So now what we need to do is, since we need to auto populate the form using the fields using the value of the category, what we can do is we can create an array and call it like something like category equals to this category that is we just fetched, right? So we are assigning this category, and this category is representing a specific entry of the table, and we are assigning this category to an array whose index is category. Now we'll send this array to the view just like we did in index function. We created a categories where this is representing the entire entries of the database, and we are sending this entire entry to the view file. We'll be using the same way in order to send the value to the view file. So here what we can do is return view, and in this case our view is inside admin folder, inside categories folder, and my view is, let's say we'll create a view called edit, and we'll pass this array to the view with with function and $arr. So this is how we pass an array to the view file. Now inside the view file we can use a variable called category in order to represent this category, right? Okay, so first of all let us create a view file inside categories folder, new file, Control S, edit.blade.php, save it. Now if you go and what I want you to do is I want you to copy the create blade entirely and paste it over here, because the form is exactly the same. We just need to auto populate the value. So here instead of add category, I want you to change it to edit. Here edit, and my value here would be inside double curly bracket, and what I can type in here is $category title, because I want to populate the existing entry of the database to this form. So my title, I want to show the value, the current value of the title which is in the database for ID number 1 or any ID that is being sent to the URL. So I'm just displaying the value over here, but after I submit this function or submit this form, my route would be different than store. The store is for newly created value while we create something, and for update we have something like update, right? In order to update an existing entry we don't use store, rather we use update. So my route should be now changed to update. At the same time, you can see just like in edit we need a value to be passed to the URL, even in update we need to specify which ID I want to update. So I'll pass my ID here just like we did last time, comma, and the value that I need to pass, which is $category ID. So I want to specify which entry I want to edit, and in order to do that I just pass the ID by separating the route name with comma and just passing the ID. So we are done. Now let's work on the in the controller in order to save. So we are submitting this to update. Right, now we need to write some code in update in order to save this, and in order to save the update I again want you to replace this ID by this category. Okay, so just replace this ID by the category. Now this category will represent the category now this category will represent the entry in the database for and and the entire entry in the database representing that ID. Okay, so it will represent its ID, its title, its let's say created date, its updated date. So everything we get by just replacing the ID by category, right? Now what we can do is, since and this request here represents and the form fields like we just worked on store. So here this request is now the form values of edit played. So we'll do the exactly same code. We'll just copy the store function and paste it in the update, but this time this won't add a new entry to database, rather it will update the entry because the ID is being sent from the URL. So it now understands that this does not need to insert an entry database, but rather it should update the entry because ID is being passed from the URL, and this category is representing a specific entry in the database whose ID is being passed to the URL. Last time when we were working with redirect, we provided our URL of the function where we wanted to redirect to uh, in our redirect function, but it is not a good practice to provide the URL to the redirect function. Rather we should generally use route name, and the reason for this is, suppose in future we want to change our URL to from admin to administrator, right, in this way. Then in this case we have to copy this link, we have to copy administrator and replace in each and every place where we have used admin, like in here and here. In every place we have to replace our URL. But if we had used route name instead of the URL, our route name could be the same because our suffix is admin. We don't need to change this suffix because this is only meant for the route name, not for the URL. So if we type in admin here and administrator here, admin.categories. Let's say anything index would still represent administrator.categories. So if we use route name instead of the URL, and in future you need to change the URL of any, let's say if of any URL, in that case if we are using route name we will be saving a lot of time because we don't need to modify any code in that case. But if we are using URL, then in that case we have to replace each and every place where we are using admin to administrator. So it is a good practice to use the route name instead of the URL in any function, like the function like redirect or the function like route or function like URL. It is always a good practice to use route name. Now in order to use route name, what we need to do here is, redirect is a function and we can just close the function over here and call a new function called route. So redirect route admin dot categories dot index. So we want to redirect to the index function, and the route name for the index function is admin.categories.index. As mentioned in our Laravel documentation, you can see photos.index represents and the index function, right? So this is the route name that we want to use. Similarly, we can do the same over here by doing this admin.categories.index. So it might seem that we are just making our code a little bit more, let's say a little bit longer, but in fact we are trying to minimize all the complexities of the future by just adding by just using the route name instead of the URL. We are saving a lot of time if we want to modify our URL. Okay, let's give it a try. So we have finished our update function. Now let's try to change some entries that we already have. It is saying admin slash category is not found because maybe we have changed it to administrator. So let me just change it back to admin, save it. Now refresh this. Now this is the listing that we have. Let's just try to edit the sport, edit it, and maybe I want to add an S at the end. Let's save it. Now you can see the S is over there. Let's try to edit it and remove the S and see again, and it is working. So we have completed our editing of an entry. Now finally I also want to cover the delete. So let's start working with delete. In our index blade, just like we have an anchor, we also have another anchor and for delete, but we generally don't delete an entry using an anchor. Rather we'll be using a form. Why? Because in order to delete, we need to let's say submit the value, or we generally don't use get method or post method, but we need to use delete method, and we need to send the type of the method that we are trying to use through a form. So in order to do that, let's just forget about this anchor, let it be here. Just below the anchor, what we can do is we can create another form and give a method, and the method to delete would be, and the method that we need to provide is photos.destroy with a parameter id, right? So our method would be route, in our case admin dot categories dot destroy, and we need to pass a parameter id. In this case it is cid, right? $c id. So we have provided the method, and this is action actually. So we have provided the action, and my method over here should be post, but inside, just like we did in the form of edit, we give a method put. So I'll just copy this exactly the same and place it over here and replace the put by destroy, because it is saying, I think it's delete not destroy, so by delete. So it is saying in order to delete we need to submit a form with the method delete, right? At the same time I also need to have an input, hidden input with my token. So input type equals to hidden, name equals to underscore token, and value should be the function csrf underscore token, csrf underscore token. So this is a must for each and every form. So to make any form workable in Laravel, we should add this input hidden. We should pass the token this way. So now we are ready with the delete form. I just need to submit this somehow. So what we are going to do is we'll just leave the form like this, and it does not have anything to display. It is a blank form with method delete and with our route over here. What I just need to do is, after we click on this anchor, I want to submit this form. So what I'll do here is I will let's say give a link called JavaScript void 0 in order to prevent it from let's say refreshing the page. At the same time I will add an event called on click. So whenever this anchor is clicked, I want to submit this form. So what I can say is on click, let's say I want to submit the form which is inside the parent td. Okay, so what I can do is dollar, this means this anchor, dot parent means this td, dot find, and I'm finding for a form. Okay, so this is representing this form, because since our form is in loop, I need to be specific which form I want to submit. So I'm saying the parent of this anchor, which is td, and dot find form, which is this form, and I want to submit this form using submit. Okay, let's see now if this works. So we are submitting in this form, so it will take us to categories.destroy. So let's go to destroy, which is over here, and what I can do here is I can call the category dot destroy. Okay, so I need to call the destroy function like this. So category destroy and pass the id over here like this. Okay, so this time I'm not replacing the id by category because I don't want to make an entry or it update an entry. Rather I want to delete an entry, so I'll be using id. So category destroy id, and after I'm deleting, I am redirecting it to the index function by copying the exactly same code that we did on update. So after deleting an entry, I'm redirecting it back to the index function. So let's see, we have some entries, like let's say I want to delete the gossips. So delete it, and you can see the the gossip is gone. So this is how we edit or delete an entry from the database. I hope you understood the video, and if you have any confusion regarding the video, you can mention it in the comment section. And if you enjoyed the video, if you liked the video, if you understood what I was trying to say, then don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe if you have not subscribed yet, and share the video if you liked it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with the new topic. And till then, maybe you can just go through the video, revise it a little bit, and we'll see you soon with the new video. Till then, have fun. Goodbye.